Yeah, it's 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. We're going to get started in just a moment. Get the word out. You might hear some meowing in the background. Our new kitten is being a bit fussy, and hopefully she's not too loud because there's not much I can do about this right now. She can't be in the room while I'm live, so we're going to get ready to get fired up. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari GXC. And hopefully I got the word out proper. And we're going to get ready to get this fired up, whether the room fills up or not, because there is a lot to talk about tonight. One of the things we are going to open up with is the Mexico incident, because a lot of people have been weighing in on this, and it really is a serious topic. As you know, four American citizens went down to Mexico a few days ago and were involved in a kidnapping incident that saw two of them dead, along with a Mexican woman who was probably an innocent bystander in all of this. And allegedly, according to news sources, they were victims of a crossfire between the Gulf Cartel and another rival gang, and it's a mess. And I'm on Spoutable now. It is my pretty much home for social media, even though I'm also on Post as well. Uh, there was a lot of opinions being weighed in on this topic, and it's hard to just make it a simple issue because there's a lot to unpack here. The fact that American citizens feel that they have to go to Mexico for health care can be unpacked in this conversation. The whole idea of the cartels literally taking over a town in Mexico and making it where you can't even come down as a tourist for medical or just to be a tourist right now is something you can unpack. But there was a lot of racist and judgmental shit being pushed, not on Spoutable, thank goodness, on other sites that I want to combat. Because oh, why was she going down there for a tummy tuck anyway? When you live in a society where they place great value on your looks, especially your size, and especially for black women who already have a bunch of strikes against us in the so-called beauty columns as it is, I don't blame Sister Girl for wanting to go get her tummy tucked. I do think that she didn't think it through going down to a known haven for the cartel, not doing her due diligence or research. But the fact of the matter is, the surgery that she went to get down there was probably way more in her budget than it would be here. You try to get any kind of plastic or cosmetic surgery here in the US. You try to just get basic health care here in the US, and you're going to break yourself financially. That honestly does need to be addressed in our country. But I hate when I see something like this being turned into a way to get bigotry out, to get racism out, to hem haw and point fingers at people who just want to feel confident about themselves and feel good about themselves in a society that makes you feel ugly and awful just for existing. I don't blame the young lady for going down to Mexico and doing what she's doing, but I do feel that we need to be careful when we travel, whether it is to our neighboring state of Mexico, well, not state, country of Mexico, or to Canada, or even overseas. You have to be vigilant and you have to do your research and know where you're going. There's no excuse anymore to not be smarter when traveling. Two Americans lost their lives, and I know that the GOP want to run with, oh, Mexico's dangerous. They could have lost their lives just as easily in Texas. Could have lost their lives just as easily in Florida. They could have lost their lives as easily here in Michigan. Let's not pretend that this is an open and shut thing of this country's dangerous, because for anybody else, our country is just as, if not more so, dangerous when it comes to gun violence, when it comes to violence against women, when it comes to violence against anybody who doesn't fit their status quo normal. I want people to be smart when it comes to traveling, but I don't want these bigots in the right to utilize this tragedy as a way to attack Mexico. Mexico has enough of its own problems with the cartels who handled this, as this article has shown, better than our people would have. The five that are allegedly responsible for the deaths of these people got rounded up, got handcuffed, and are going to be arrested. The cartel was like, "Nah, you're not gonna let us fall for these idiots who are young and jump the gun. We didn't sanction this. We don't want these people's blood on our hands. So here you go." They turned these guys over. And I know some people are like, "Well, how do we know they didn't just round up five patsies?" And we don't know. But the thing is, they didn't even have to do that much. As somebody who grew up around people who, I'm not going to say they were anywhere near organized or organized adjacent, because that would be ridiculous. But when you grow up around certain people and you know how they operate, they're not going to just send people to take a fall. A good group is not going to let anybody go to jail if they can help it. But if your actions cause damage to everybody in whole, oh yeah, your ties are going to be cut. And these people not only caused international damage with what they did, but they took the life of an innocent woman who had absolutely nothing to do with the situation. Those four tourists were down there to get medical help. Their van literally trailed them to fire on them for no reason because they thought they might have been Haitian drug dealers. There was a lot of ignorance on both sides. And what I want us to get away from is the whole idea of blaming an entire country for their problematic issues. Because if that's the case, everybody can just call America the continued Wild West. We have to stop overgeneralizing Mexico. We have to give Mexico the chance to prosecute these murderers. We have to mourn the loss of the people who died in this incident, but we cannot let the right run with this as a way to continuously attack that country, because that's all they want to do is lead it into their border bigotry, as I like to call it. They have been constantly harping on a way to not only stick it to Mexico, South America, and anybody that harbors people who speak Spanish, people who happen to be brown, from coming into this country legally. So they will run with this incident, and they don't even care about the American citizens who died. Let's get that straight. They're not even going to remember the names of the young men who lost their lives in this, but they will utilize them as American citizens for convenience. I want this incident to go down as an open eyes for our president and beyond, that we need affordable health care, that we need policies on the books to help more Americans stay in this country to get surgeries done. I want Black citizens especially to feel safer staying here and getting surgeries, but we're not there. Our medical system, as I said the last Bonnet Chronicles, don't really treat us well. So it does make sense to me on so many fundamental levels that this young lady and her friends decided to go down to Mexico to get this done. And welcome to the chat, Respect. I see. It doesn't shock me because the UK is full of racist ass colonizers, and the Daily Mail is no exception. You can look no further than their constant attacks on Meghan and Harry. What troubles me is people don't want to unpack all the reasonings why anybody would go to Mexico, and it's really easy for them to victim blame because the victims are Black. Oh, of course they thought they looked like Haitian drug dealers. They're Black people. And they don't realize how racist that sounds. They don't realize how bigoted their reportings are. They don't want to unpack the fact that even in our country that has healthcare facilities that can do these cosmetic surgeries, it costs way too much, the risks are way too high, and it can set you into debt just getting it done. And to blame a woman when we are literally in a society that prizes women on our looks, on our sizes, and Some of us aren't lucky enough to just be comfortable in our skin and find people that care. Callie is really being loud tonight, y'all. I hope she's not coming through over the mic, but if she does, I apologize. She is very salty about being stuck in her cat condo and not being allowed to wander around the house yet. Seriously, though, it troubles me on a deep front how many people want to take bigoted slants on this. And I don't want this turning into a us versus Mexico. I know that President Biden isn't that kind of president, but in the drive for 2024, this is going to be the right's rallying cry. And it's not like they care about the four that went down there. They don't care that the two that are still living are forever traumatized because they watched their friend die. They definitely don't care about that Mexican woman who lost her life as an innocent bystander. This is just another gotcha for their war against wokeness that we who have common sense cannot allow. And on top of that, it just comes from a week of fuckery. I'm gonna switch it up. Not to that guy yet. Because I really feel like there's been a lot of relevant news. But one of the things that stuck in my craw in what I like to call the side-eye files is those bigots that murdered Ahmaud Arbery deciding that they have the right, and they do technically under law have the right to appeal their conviction. Now, as you know, Ahmaud Arbery was a jogger who, in Georgia, was minding his own black business. He was doing his daily jogging in the neighborhood that he was familiar enough with to jog down. But three white men decided, not in our neighborhood. They chased him down with a pickup truck and gunned him in his back, murdering him, snuffing his life out like nothing. They claimed, oh, we thought he was breaking into something. We thought he was a criminal. We're not licensed police. We're not even licensed militia, even though that doesn't really exist. We just decided to chase an unarmed black man down and gun him down. And of course, for that murder, which it is, they were given life sentences. Now these three dipshits are appealing, which they legally have the right to, which kills me because they have more legal rights than the victim had in his own country, than the family has to stop this nightmare from continuing to plague their family. We all have to endure these racist ass bigots continuing their pleas for mercy and leniency when they gave none to Ahmaud Arbery. They took his life. They deserve a life for a life and a life behind bars. But according to their new defense attorney, their appeal is, well, his race had no relevancy in what they did. So it shouldn't be a hate crime because they did get federal hate crime charges. Even though all of them have a clear history of racist patterns, of racist posting, of racist connections. Oh, him being a black man had no bearing on why two of them chased him down. Yes, it did. And if you think that we collectively as a country are stupid enough to believe this appeal, I don't understand it. But good luck to you because you're going to need it. Because the judge who gave the initial sentencing put it as clearly as possible that you have no place in our society. You literally chased down a fellow citizen based on his skin color, murdered him. It was caught on videotape, and it was bad enough that somebody had to leak that videotape, or we would have never known the details, and those three murderous fucks probably would have gotten away with it. But somebody had the good sense, the good soul to be like, no, we can't do this. We cannot allow this murder to go unchecked. And the fact of the matter is, without that videotape, who knows where these three murderers would have been? They are far from the only incident. There was a FedEx worker not even a year ago that had bullet holes in his truck just trying to do his job. This is an ongoing issue of white people aggressively targeting black people for just living our black lives in our own neighborhoods. And if these three ever had a chance of seeing the light of day again, it would tell not only bigots that they can get away with murder, but it would tell black citizens that we cannot be safe in our own homes, in our own neighborhoods. And that has got to stop. I know that they legally have the right to appeal their convictions, and I know they're probably going to exhaust it because they've gotten life without parole for at least two of them, and life with the possibility of parole in 25 years for one of them. But it is my hope that they stay behind bars for the rest of their days because that is what they deserve. Ahmaud Arbery should have been able to live his full life. He did nothing wrong. He was jogging in his own area, and he paid for being black with his life because of those three bigots. They don't deserve to appeal. But I'm going to move on to the heart of tonight because it is a topic that really feels near and dear to so much going on. And let me get this up. Okay. Callie is being so salty tonight. Okay. There we go. Transitioning over because Tennessee, which, I'm not going to do this North versus South stuff. I know people love to dunk on the South. And as I've said several times, I've lived in the South for 20 years. Yeah, I moved back up north. I'm okay being up north again, but I lived in the South. I was comfortable in the South. I will not accept people's, oh, I'm not shocked by Tennessee doing this. I'm shocked that people want to just act like this isn't going to affect us nationwide if we don't stop Jim Crow 2.0. I think one of the issues I have with what's going on in Tennessee and what's going on in general with bigotry and bias is people are trying to act like, oh, it's just the LGBTQ. Why should we care? As a black citizen, as somebody whose grandparents had to literally march for their humanity, watching any state sanctioned bigotry should give you pause, should make you freeze up and want to fight for your fellow citizens to be able to live freely with dignity. These people aren't attacking drag shows because they care about little kids. These same people will ignore fuckers like this guy, or even worse, where's this one? Yeah, this guy. The top idiot is an 84-year-old who in Florida was arrested for several counts of attacking students because he was a substitute teacher. 84 years old Crip Goblin who was entrusted to watch children, watch over children, substitute teaching for children, decided he was going to molest children. But oh, drag shows are a step too far in Tennessee. And then this guy underneath, let me get rid of the Crip gargoyle here, because, 84 years old. This guy, a youth pastor. It's almost always the youth pastors. The right doesn't want you to pay attention to stuff like this. They don't want you to notice how supposedly normal guys that look like this prey upon young girls and young boys sometimes too. Sometimes both, depending on their predation desires. That is the face of predators. These people who sit in the church holding a Bible, acting like they're pious in one breath, while lusting after children and chasing them down and putting themselves in positions where they can manipulate, groom, and attack innocent children. Yet you want to attack drag shows that only want to show kids that, culturally speaking, they've been around since the beginning of humanity. We've had transgender beings since early civilization. We've had drag shows for over 50 years now. We've had entertainers who have dressed as women for entertainment purposes since the days of Bob Hope, Bing Crosby's, even had a variety show where people dressed up in drag. And in New York, the drag shows became part of the scene, especially in the late 60s, early 70s, and throughout the 80s, 90s, as the show Pose showed. Drag culture is a relevant part of our society. It gives confidence and boosts images for so many troubled youth. It gives them a voice that they didn't feel they could have, a community that embraces them and tells them to be confidently themselves. And it troubles me that we are allowing states like Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, I believe Alabama and Mississippi are other states, Georgia, and even North Carolina has representatives who are trying to pass bills targeting drag shows, targeting events that happen to host LGBTQ friendly content, and it has to stop. It really is the new Jim Crow 2.0. And if we allow legal legislation against the LGBTQ, we open the doors for even harsher stuff against brown, black, and other POC. Don't sleep on this. Just because you think, well, I don't understand their identity or I'm morally against their identity. You know how many people were morally against black people, period, in this country and legally got to be morally against us? Still citing that. There are people who still side eye me and my partner for daring to be a mixed ethnic couple because in their mindset, I am still less than human to them. So when I see people do that to the LGBTQ members of our society, not only do I see kindred spirits who deserve to be lifted up, just as much as I try my hardest to lift up black people, but there are people that we cannot afford to abandon because they are targeting them on purpose because they think we don't care. They think, oh, it's just the LGBTQ, so we can target their drag shows. We can target their books. We can ban them. We can make our children think of the LGBTQ as a four-letter word. That's why so many of them, when they go on their manifesto tangents, want to target. That's why that fucker, I believe in Colorado, targeted that gay bar. We have to stop this in its tracks because they are trying to create a legal path to making it illegal for the LGBTQ to live in their own country. And we cannot afford Jim Crow 2.0. I want to show something that really, really hit me hard when I read it because it really speaks to how deep this goes. Let me find the image because let's get Betty off of here. Okay, browse. Because it's such a vital thing. And I really want to give credit to the dead mother, Piggy Twan, for posting this. And I want to just in full give Piggy's words because it really speaks to heart what the LGBTQ community is going through. I'm going to put it up on the screen here now. Get that predator's ugly ass picture off of here. Because it really is so relevant to all of what we've been saying about this being the new Jim Crow. I'm going to read this aloud because it really is Let's see. Open up. It's my old eyes. I need to make this way bigger now, y'all. I'm not gonna front on y'all. But Piggy Twan has posted this. I'm not sure if this was Instagram. They retweeted it on Spoutable, well, respouted it on Spoutable, but it hit me to my heart, and that's why I decided to dedicate the Bonnet Chronicles to especially my trans uh, friends and family tonight, because I want you to know I see you. I want you to know that you are not invisible, and that I will not let them legally shut your voices down. To my friends who just want to do drags performances, because the LGBTQ community are more than just one column, one category. You're fluent, you're vibrant, and I see you, and I want your words to be amplified. So Piggy Taiwan said, listen, folks, I came out 20 years ago, and this is the first time I've asked cis people to show up for trans people. I am an elder in my community. We call it a mother. And I am running out of stamina, running out of words of resistance, running out of things to say to my girls when they ask me, how do we get over the last time they came for us in all sides like this? And they're referring to the 80s, which was a brutal time for the LGBTQ, when even the president came out against gay, lesbian people. The AIDS crisis was ravaging the community, and everybody turned the cold shoulder in their backs until some old white actor died of disease. Then all of a sudden, everybody wanted to open their eyes to the fact that, oh, well, anybody could get AIDS then. And by the way, Rock Hudson was bisexual. But people want to ignore an issue until it's knocking directly at their door. And the fact that Piggy Taiwan even had to say that so many young LGBTQ are feeling the effects of these state bans on their lives, it's not a joke. And as she continues on, this time is different. This is an incredibly well organized, well targeted oppression. It meets the criteria established by the UN as a precondition of genocide, which is true. Historically speaking, regimes target a group, make them the scapegoat, and pass laws against them existing. And when the citizens turn a blind eye to it, it is only a step before they start to ethnically cleanse them. We cannot afford to let that happen. Nothing that comes next should surprise anyone. So let's cut this off at the head before it gets any further in the door. Please help. We'll never ask you again. And honey, I want you to ask for help. I don't ever want anybody who feels like their life's in danger to feel like they can't come to us. It's not okay. We never have before, but this time is different. And it's true. A lot of you probably don't understand what the LGBTQ have gone through over the years. Growing up in New York, having transgender family and friends, people close to my heart, I understood what they were going through because I was close enough to the situation, close enough to how dangerous it was to live openly trans in even New York City. But there are too many people who you have the luxury of not being able to pay attention to the situation or thinking it's not me. But those of us who have trans kids, those of us who have trans family members, those of us who just love somebody who is transgendered, we understand the assignment, and we need more of you to open your eyes to the fact that they are literally trying to pass Jim Crow 2.0 in our country. We cannot afford to turn our backs on Piggy Taiwan or any of the other mothers out there pleading to those of us who have a voice that people will listen to. I don't want to see state sanctioned cleansing of the LGBTQ, because that is what they're pushing for with these bills. Make no mistake, they don't care how it looks. They don't even care if one day they're up in The Hague or in a UN tribunal for their acts because hate has always been their fuel and what they run on. The vision, anti wokeness, all of that is this bigoted battery for them. And they are allowed to pass these laws legally because some of you sleep on voting. Some of you don't care who represents you or thinks that, well, the damage won't come my way. It won't come knocking at my door. It's only them. And I'm not a them, so I don't have to worry about it. But what happens when the thems shrink up because you legally allow them to be rounded up? What happens when they jump from, well, we got the LGBT in check. Let's move on to women. Because women are the goal. Culling us, making sure that we just stay baby incubators and fuckable meat bags has always been the right's goal. And if you don't understand that dehumanization has to have a jump off point, that they started with black people, they're going to move on to their supposed easy target of the LGBTQ plus if we let them. And then they will move right back to their favorite target of women because they never wanted us to have rights in the first place. It all goes hand in hand. And this is why we keep telling you to wake up. This is why we keep telling you to open your eyes. This is not a drill. Piggy Taiwan, I really hope that one day you hear this Bonnet Chronicles. I hope you know that I care, respect cares. So many of us out there, we hear you, we see you, we want you to know that we are going to fight for you and beyond. Because it's not just our communities affected by these right-wing policies. We see how they're targeted your communities openly because they think that we don't care. They think, oh, the moral amongst black people. And anybody who dares to call themselves moral but try to hide behind the church and use bigotry to be anti-LGBTQ, you can't sit with us. Because at this point, there is literally no morality doctrine that should allow a young child to not feel comfortable in their own skin, whether they want to dress in drag, whether they are sure of their gender identity and need to transition into the gender identity that they feel confident and comfortable in. We need to be a society that accepts not only gender fluidity, but acceptance that we don't even understand our own selves half the time. It took me over 45 years to be comfortable being female. 45 years to understand that I do not have to let society dictate how I carry myself as a woman so that I can feel confident as a woman. And it is not my place to tell somebody who is finding themselves as a transgender citizen that they are not allowed to. I am sick and tired of the bigoted bullying that we have allowed within our society. It has destroyed more lives, countless lives. And if we silently allow these bills in Tennessee, all around the South, and even some places in the North, to go on under the pretense of protecting kids, when we literally have seen the type of ghouls that actually go after children. I was just reading an article earlier about this 45-year-old woman who allegedly, because the news always likes to use allegedly for them, slept with a 16-year-old who just happened to be her daughter's boyfriend for years. He was 21 years old when he finally reported it to the police because she kept harassing him for looking at the women. And it's like, he's literally your daughter's boyfriend. But the right don't want to talk about white ladies that do stuff like that. No, but let a drag queen host a book reading in a library to show that, yes, they exist. They're not harmful. They're not hateful. They're not preying on kids. They're just reading a book, man. And oh no, we've got to be up in arms. What about the children? You learn the sexuality. These are the same people that will put a little boy and little girl together and have visions of weddings early on. But let a young boy decide, I might like boys early in my life. I understand who I have a crush on early on. Let a young girl realize she has feelings for other other young girls early on in life. And it's a bridge too far for sexuality. If we are going to become a stronger, more confident society, we have to stop hyper focusing on sexuality as the only reasons for why people are gay and lesbian or even straight. Because let me tell you, and I've told Greg this several times, if being LGBTQ plus was seriously a choice, after everything I went through in my past with relationships, I sure as heck wouldn't be straight. So I know if I can confidently say who I'm attracted to, who my mind seeks out in partners, I am pretty damn sure somebody who is gay or lesbian knows. I am pretty sure somebody who is trans knows their gender because we're in our own bodies, we're in our own minds. And I want a society that respects that. And I don't think I'm asking too much at this point. Exactly, respect. And coming to that, being a parent of a transgender child cannot be easy because you're in a society that is going to target your child. I look at Zaya Wade, beautiful little girl, beautiful young woman. She is turning into a full on adult soon, even. She has been able to confidently transition with the support of her mom, well, her stepmom and her dad, but might as well be her mom because Gabrielle has been there for her since the beginning. Dwayne Wade has stepped up, and despite her bigoted biological mother trying to interfere, Zara has been able to grow and blossom. And that is what happens when you have support, when you have the confidence to be yourself. But there are so many others who don't get that. So many others, due to economic, due to societal pressures, due to small town issues too, that go so many darker routes, including drugs, suicide. It is a dangerous path for those who don't have support. And I want to see more support within our community and beyond. It's heartbreaking seeing how many young transgender women are abused, murdered, their lives snuffed out, and then they get dead named by our newspapers and societies. It has to stop. They have chosen their identities. It's something that I am currently writing in the second novel about identity and gender affirmation and so many things that I touched upon in the first novel as well. Because so many people think that gender fluidity, I don't understand what that is. So I you cannot keep feigning ignorance as your reasoning for continued bigotry. Learn that biologically speaking, even if you look a certain way, you could feel a different way inside. And even if you look a certain way, you are not socially conditioned to act a certain way. One of the things that I learned being a woman is sometimes I want to wear a dress. Matter of fact, I was rocking a spaghetti strap dress the other day. I might do it again this weekend because I've been lifting. I don't know if you can see in this new baseball shirt wearing my new Kalari GXC merch. Chronically, chronically unmotivated merch at that. Has my little black cat symbol on it. But one of the things that I started doing with lifting was getting more confident in some of the things that I wear, especially around the house, mostly to entice my partner. But that is on me. And I want young transgender men to feel confident rocking whatever style they want. I want young transgender women. I want men who to feel confident, fluid, no matter what. I always love the stories of those dads who aren't afraid to get into a dress or a tutu to impress either their sons or their daughters when they're young, or just to say, hey, I'm comfy no matter what. There was a country band the other day in Tennessee to protest these drag show bands. Country as fuck band, as I like to call them. I love country bands now. Lil Nas X opened my eyes to a lot more country than I used to care for back in the day, being more of a grunge girl. But these men got into a full on dress and performed on stage to stand in solidarity. Now, if country bands, which is a genre normally the right love to swing about as their patriotic clan call music, can say enough's enough with your bigotry, what is your excuse at this point? We have to fight against this legalized legislation against citizens' rights to exist. You aren't protecting kids with these laws. You are going to cause the death of more kids with these laws, and it has to be upon our shoulders. Those of us who consider ourselves straight or straight enough. Those of us who consider our voices loud enough to lead the charge. Here in Michigan, thank God, even though we've got wackadoos trying to threaten our life for it, our governor has put a hardline stance along with legislators, because we have a trifecta of Dems here, thank goodness, to put LGBTQ protections and provisions into place for Michiganders. I don't know if they call themselves Michiganders or not. It's weird, the terms for different states. I was used to calling myself a North Carolinian for years now, and now that I've been up in Michigan long enough, I'm a Michigander. I think that's how they call it. But having a governor, senators, and state representatives that give a fuck about our citizens is the only reason why we have the legal rights to put these protections and provisions, along with the stuff that she's doing to protect women's rights to choose, so that when we need our medicine, it's not held up because of the repeal of Dobbs, and giving safe health care to all women despite what the right want to do to us. And that is just in one state. We have at least 49 more states that need to step up their game. I'd say 48 because California ain't doing too bad either. But there are a lot more states that are in the in-betweens that we cannot count on being just safe either way. And we cannot leave any citizen feeling like they're voiceless, like they need to beg us for help, like they need to feel left behind in these conversations. Over 40 years ago, my grandparents risked getting lynched going on a bus, going to vote, just being in the wrong neighborhood in a sundown town. They literally risked life and limb for their country, enlisted in the army for World War II and Korea, respectively, but it wasn't enough in their own country to be recognized as human beings, as citizens. Even as businessmen and pastors, as my grandfathers were respectively, they still had to march with Dr. King and other civil rights leaders to ask for this country to federally recognize Black citizens as human beings. There were still several states with legal, separate but equal laws on the books that made districts just struggling to survive if you were Black citizens. We give it cutesy names like Jim Crow, but it was hell on earth for Black citizens. And now we are watching the right coordinate that effort against the GOP. And the only thing we have to do is keep our eyes open, vote these motherfuckers out when the chances get up, so that we can protect our citizens, so that we can stop feeling unsafe in our own neighborhoods. And I'm asking people to just open your eyes to the problem, because too many of you want to act like you don't see it because it doesn't affect you directly. But what Piggy said struck home to me, because the younger generation, the people out there were like, oh, people are losing touch. They don't know how hard we've had it. But why should they have to? Don't you want a society where the kids don't know what it feels like to be oppressed? I'm sick and tired of people going, oh, that just makes soft kids. Bullshit. It'll make less screwed up children. I say that as somebody with bipolar and schizophrenia, brought on by constant hatred, constant bigotry, constant gender pressure, constant afraid, and dealing as a survivor of assault. I'm sick and tired of living in a society that thinks it's just going to make kids tougher if you make it harder on them. No, we're making a whole new batch of sociopaths. And I say this as a diagnosed sociopath. It is not a good life, ma'am. And if you want a stronger society, we need to try a supportive society. And you can't act like it won't work because we've never had one, man. So it's about time that our society starts to embrace that, because it's been beyond time for us to get it together and start to seriously look at all the flaws of, well, we need to separate the wheat from the chaff in education. And that's why so many people are just dropping now. College is a no-go for so many people because you don't want to break yourself. The educational system is going to stagnate under this current system because we don't support people's goals. I was reading an article about this young man who spent 18 years of his life unable to read, and then with the help and support of community members, of his church and everything else, he was able to get into an Ivy League school. There are so many brilliant minds that fall within the cracks of our society because of the way our current school system is even structured and defunded. We have to get better legislators that aren't worried about book bans and drag show bans, but worried about properly funding education and providing a system of support that gives our kids a well-rounded education. Not banning studies because, oh, we're afraid our kids will hate being white. The goal of the right is to keep people hateful, ignorant, and pretty much foot soldiers for fuckery. And if you don't want that to be you or people you love, if you don't want your kids to fall down the well that Dylan Roof or that Gurdon or Gerhon or however you say that Buffalo shooter's name, if you don't want your child to be gripped in the tendrils of hate, you need to pay attention to these pleas. Because Jim Crow 2.0 will be far more deadlier than the first round. And that was deadly. Deadly enough where they still have postcards of lynching because it was open back then. Because they thought, well, nope, that black man whistled at somebody. We have the right to do that. That is a society they want to go back to. Only they want to include the LGBTQ plus in that. And we cannot afford to act like, oh, that won't happen, Ten. They literally lynched George Floyd while being filmed. And the only difference is they are paying for that. Not as severe as I would like it, but I don't want to see them doing that to an openly transgender female. I definitely don't want to see them doing that to a transgender male. I don't want to see a society that condones this level of hatred anymore. And it is on us to purge that toxin from our system and to hear our fellow citizens, even if you don't understand them, even if that makes you a little uncomfortable. Be open to being uncomfortable, because then you'll start to realize that I don't have to be. It has no bearing on how I carry myself, respecting other people's right to live. That is the woke agenda that these idiots on the right are pressing against, that they want you to fight against, that they want you to be proper little foot soldiers for fuckery for. That hateful ignorance that snuffs out a young, brilliant life because they happen to know what gender identity they feel comfortable in. And just because it doesn't fit your standards of what's male or female or in between, just because they feel more comfortable calling themselves non-binary even, that is not on how you should carry yourself. And in a stable society full of support, more people will understand that. More people will understand that things that work for you doesn't have to work for everybody else for our society to function. But we are a very self-centered, driven, craven society currently, and we have to be the ones to get away from that. And this culture war, as my title said, we cannot afford the level of casualties that will come if we turn a blind eye to this. Now I'm gonna go on to Spoutable because Christopher Boozy has made a point, and I agree to a certain extent, that the way to get past the initial hype, because believe me, there has been a lot of hype on the launch, rightfully so, over 100K registered users, over 1 million views constantly. As you see here, I've got Professor Kyle's spout up about the AP being the AP as usual, talking about how let me get this up on Spoutable. How NPR actually, sorry AP, but you're another one that acts up. But NPR analyst, Democrats are pivoting from defund the police to give them more money. I don't know why they seem to think that AOC, Talib, and Rashid and all of them are fundamentally voices for the Democrats. They aren't. They don't speak for us. And the fund the police was never a party rallying thing. Things that the far left run with are not democratic policies or agendas. President Biden did not run on the defund the police. VP Harris didn't. That moniker needs to stop being associated directly to our party. It is a fringe section of a party that kept trying to push it without understanding the nuances of why the black community wants law enforcement to recognize us as citizens, but still understand that we want the police in our neighborhoods when crime happens. We want them to not be given budgets for tactical gear to view us as animals, but we do want them to be able to come when we call them when a crime happens and not shoot directly on site. It is it's a very nuanced topic that too many people want to make black and white, and it has to stop. And I agree with Professor Kyle that a lot of Dems, especially President Biden, never said they wanted to defund the police, and it is journalistic malpractice to suggest otherwise. But these are the tactics going into 2024 that these news and media organizations are going to keep trying to push. And why I'm so grateful for sites like Spoutable, especially, is it does give us a way to organize, a way to have a voice, a way to call out and clap back. Because I don't know if you know, but Twitter is literally going through some things, y'all. And as Christopher Boozy was saying, making sure that we talk about it on the Bonnet Chronicles and other mediums will help us get over the initial hype of the launch last month. But to get to the fuck around and find out files of this situation, we'll go to this tweet because I thought it was kind of funny. And I labeled it Schadenfreude. Those of you know, I quit Twitter almost 2 months ago. I made the last bonnet short. I haven't even signed on to it in 2 months. I don't miss it. It feels like a cleanse and a detox for both my soul and my brain. I don't feel like fighting on Twitter no more. It's not fun. It hasn't been fun even when I was on there daily. I don't miss it. But I do love that on Spoutable, people screen cap and bring tweets over. And one of the tweets that made me laugh was this by Zane Schacht. And he went on to say, in regards to dumbass Napoleon tweeting about a former employee that he just fired. Every employment lawyer on the planet watching Elon disclose an employee's disability, claim he's faking it, and state it's part of the reason why he was fired. And these are the birds from Nemo. Finding Nemo is one of Kiddo's favorite movies, by the way. Saying mine, because every lawyer worth their grain of salt right now is more than likely salivating to represent that young person who must gleefully announce that he fired. That man already had it in his contract that being unlawfully terminated would get him $100 million. So that's already money in the bank for unlawful termination. But then apartheid edgelord on top of that decided to disclose private medical information in the tweet, which even if he deleted it, even if he tried to scrub it, walk it back, screen caps are forever, Elon. You're an idiot. I try to tell people all the time that let people show you who they are. And for years, people wanted to laud this man as a genius. He's a tech innovator. He's smartest man in the room. He bought Twitter on a whim to fight the woke agenda for an X. He wasted $44 billion to turn it into a propaganda paradise for both Russian bots, for anybody who will give him $8. He can't even protect Jews from the onslaught of that. They have had security issues, protocol issues. They have fired people internationally, causing all kinds of unemployment headaches. He is going through some things, y'all, and it is a dumpster fire. I don't want to watch it burn anymore. I thought I was going to sit with sunglasses on and watch it burn to ashes, but I'm having much more fun on Spoutable, much more fun on Post. It's better to have actual social media, non-toxic, non-constant warring and arguing with right-wing trolls. And if that's your bag, I am not going to shit on you. I know for some of you it's stress relief. I don't particularly get it anymore. I wish you luck. But for those of you who want to detox, get back to a place where we can organize, where we can share ideas, where we can share updates and milestones, where I can feel comfortable just being myself, unapologetic. That is why we have new sites like Spoutable, Post, even Mastodon, to name a few. There are places out there for you to express yourself, organize, and fight the good fight without constantly having to fight the multitude of hateful trolls that seem to be swarming the other site. And like I said, with Elon constantly trying to shit post his way into cool and looking like a big ass fool, it is only a matter of time before his ass ends up bankrupt because he's literally hemorrhaging money now from this acquisition. It was a stupid, unfortunate move on his part, and I am feeling all kinds of schadenfreude from it. All kinds of he's fucked around and now he's gonna find out. And I really hope to the person that he revealed not only personal health information of, but unceremoniously fired them from supposedly faking their disability. I hope you clean his coffers with your lawsuits. I hope you get the best lawyer. And I hope Elon is forever salty that he couldn't just keep his Twitter fingers to himself. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, y'all. This was a fun one for me tonight. Once again, just want to let you know that Chronically Unmotivated merch is in our shop. You can find that. We'll have the links in the show notes and on YouTube when I get it posted up. Also, today is the last day for Smashwords ebook sale. If you haven't picked up an e-copy of our novel Axiom, it is half off, so you can get it for $3.49 on Smashword, I believe. It is to encourage ebook reading. For those of you who don't really have the funds right now, and I understand that. I want people to understand that I am definitely team broke ass, and you want to be able to read the novel. Palace, the library app, now allows you to borrow my book. It is a library app. I don't believe that you have to pay for it. I do believe that if you want to eventually buy the book, they do it at a discount there, but you can borrow our story on there. We just got another box of books ordered, and then it snowed. So getting them shipped out will probably be a bit, but we do plan to get the signed books out again once it's a bit better weather-wise. So I'm excited about that as well. I just want to thank everybody who has been supportive of myself, Axiom Wolf. It has been a journey, and I am just so excited to see where next year even goes. The rest of this year is going to be creative-wise big. Like the web comics about to be launched. I'm so excited for On Bomb Tales. We've got book 2 in the horizon. I'm working on that daily. I am just so excited for the future right now, y'all. And I really hope that for all of you that it is a year of going after what you want, a year of taking chances and making your dreams come true, because that's the path I'm on, and I can see so much good for all of us if we keep focused. But I am going to get ready to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Respect. I love it. I love the baseball style. I have another gray t-shirt style of this too. I'm going to try to order more merch as I can and do giveaways soon, because I think if people get to see how these are quality clothes. I was worried too. I didn't want to start plugging merch that I wouldn't personally wear myself. And I love it. It's a cute design. It has the big cat and the little cat, showing a bit of my flab there. But it's okay. I've been lifting too, so I'm a bit happy about that. But yeah, I am really excited to not only be able to have merch with my logo and stuff on it, but so many projects are coming up. So I really just want to continue on this path of good things. And I just want to bestow that on to everybody that watches and beyond. Let this be a good year for you. Let this be a year of positivity. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I think Axiom Wolf is lurking, but I don't see him. So I'm going to fire this up if I can. Oh, there he goes. Never mind. You too, Respect. All right, you have a great weekend. Hopefully, I will see y'all on Tuesday. Have a good one. Hug your families. And if you're up in the snow, please stay warm and safe. Have a great weekend.